Hello everyone, Stan Heller here, and welcome to this short video about understanding support and resistance. Support and resistance are considered the building blocks of trading. They find levels of oversupply or resistance when prices are at a prior high level and demand when prices are at a prior low level. These levels help traders anticipate turning points to better time their entries and exits. In this video, I will show you how easy it is in VectorVest to have the software draw your support and resistance lines perfectly every time and save your layout so you don't have to continuously choose the support and resistance or set it up each time. So let's go ahead and open up the US software to start. And support and resistance is available in all of our VectorVest countries, so I'll show Canada as well. But we have Australia, UK, and Europe as well. So let's go ahead. I've got a couple of stocks selected. I can click on the graph tab here to open the graph. This is the default VectorVest layout, pretty simple layout with price running across the top. We can remove the stop price, the blue line, and the RT, our short-term trend momentum indicator. I can change the area to a line just for simplicity on the graph. So there's the RT on the line. So it's a pretty simple graph. And from here to add support and resistance, I'll come to add parameter, left click, and click on technical analysis. And then support resistance is at the bottom. So these are the technical indicators that every subscriber has access to. There's no need for any add-on module. We all have this in our VectorVest software. At the bottom is support and resistance, so I'll left click on that and it drops it down to the bottom of our control panel, and we can see that it's finding two lines of support and one of resistance. And when I check the box, it'll identify those lines. So here's the two support lines, and there's a very thin resistance line right at the price high at the top of the graph. So just the three lines, and you can see though that it's catching the two touches. When I hover my mouse on the lower support line, you can see the circles are showing where we have the touches. And we've got two touches there and two touches there. So if we see our resistance up at this level, we know it might be time to take some profit, and support here, an opportunity after the retest. So we broke the what was resistance, it became support, price went up, pulled back to the now the support area, and that would be a possible entry opportunity where there is demand for the stock price. All right, so when you draw your own lines, you might draw some additional lines. For example, I can see there's really a support zone right about there. So I could draw another line there, and you can see price rose, found resistance up at this level, pulled back and found support at this level, pushed price higher, and then right to that resistance zone again, and it pushed the price down as there was an oversupply in the view of traders, and so they're looking for a better price to get in, and it happened down here. So if you're not seeing all the lines that you would like to see on your graph, you can always come in and change the support and resistance settings from the default here. What I like to do is just come in and add parameter, technical analysis, and add another support and resistance box here. And from here I can add basically the default once again, and I'll take the default off of this one by unchecking it, but now I can just right click and I can change the settings. We're looking at 300 bars, 2 minimum touches required. The size of reversals are strong and the size of the support resistance zone is thin, and I'm only showing 2 matching lines. So the first thing I could do is show 3 matching lines, and it does add another area of support for me there. But the other settings I would change is the size of reversals to medium and support resistance zone to average, and I'll show all the matching lines. And then when I click OK, so now the VectorVest software has found basically the same support zone that I identified earlier, so I can remove my line. So now I've got a very clear support line. I did have another resistance line at the right edge, and we did break through that resistance, and it becomes a support zone that might come into play later on as we move to the right edge as the market moves along. So we have a little bit more information to work with. We've got a little bit more drawings on our graph, and we can see that support line that I was looking at down here very clearly. A terrific entry. RT was rising above 1 on that 0 to 2 scale, so it was a really good entry, and we're into the trade at this lower level possibly, or more likely waiting for price to get above this resistance zone. Look at all the touches we have on this resistance zone, and it becomes support. But we're into the trade, and we go from about $100 to $141. So a pretty good trade. We actually broke through this resistance zone, and we can actually color those lines a little bit differently. Just right click in the support resistance box, change the style, and we can make the support lines red, for example. It's only one resistance line, and it's right up at the top, not that visible there, so point it out to you there. All right, so we're all set. We've got our default support and resistance on the graph. If we want to toggle it on, we can toggle it on and off. And then we have our modified support and resistance. And I can actually even change the settings further, and maybe instead of 300 bars, I want to look back as far as 1,000 bars. So now I've got a couple more lines at the very bottom of the graph, and hopefully they won't come into play for a while, but they could come into play as we move along to the right side as we trade day by day. So we're all set. I'm just going to change this settings back, and maybe a medium bar level here would be 500. So we're all set there. And now we can just save our layout, so it'll save the colors for us as well. And let's go ahead and click on Graph Layouts, Save Modify Layouts, and we'll add a new layout, and we'll just call it VectorVest Default with support and resistance. Click on OK and close. So now if we change the graph from here, for example, change to the VectorVest layout, our default, and we go back to VectorVest default with support and resistance. We just left click on the graph. It remembers our color scheme, and we're all set to look at more graphs. So here's the next graph, and you can see the channel we're in. If I want to switch back to the default layout, I would just add it, technical analysis, support and resistance, and it's going to remember my default layout, so I can click on that. There's our little bit of a channel here at the top, and a good entry point when we break above this resistance zone. So we've got our graph layout saved and we can move on. And of course it works the same in all of our different countries. So for example, if I were to go to the US side, parameter on this graph layout, technical analysis, support and resistance. Drops it down to the bottom. I've actually got this saved from prior looking at it, so I've got both the default and many more lines showing up. So there's the default, but once again, you might see that there's additional lines that you would want to draw. Particularly this one is a pretty strong support level from prior history, and we might want to take advantage of that when price comes down. RT is rising. That would be a really good entry position. Did actually break through resistance quite strongly in this case, so that would be an excellent trade. If I put these lines back, you can see when we add more lines that VectorVest software catches it perfectly, exactly where we would have drawn it ourselves. All right, so I can close out of that, go back to our slides. So once again, we looked at support and resistance, how to modify and save support and resistance settings to our graph. So I hope you enjoyed the video and learned how you can use support and resistance yourself. I think you'll find it quite helpful in your trading. If you like this kind of video, please do click on the like button. It adds members to our VectorVest Nation, and we appreciate it. And if you're brand new to VectorVest, haven't seen it before, want to give it a try, you can just call 1-888-658-7638 and take a 30-day trial. So thanks for watching, everyone.